story contains a problem and a solution. DeeDee was a mousy-looking kid. Unlike most children at Wayside School, she liked recess better than spelling. As soon as the recess bell rang, she would jump up from her seat and run out the door. There were big signs on Wayside School on every floor. No jumping down the stairs. DeeDee never seemed to notice the signs. She jumped down the stairs. Some children took the stairs 2 at a time. DeeDee took them 10 at a time. That was on the way down. It was funny. She never seemed to be in quite the same hurry on the way back up. There was another sign at Wayside School. No cutting across the grass. DeeDee must not ever have seen that one either. She cut across the grass and ran up to Louis, the yard teacher. I want a green ball, she said. The green balls were the best. I'm all out of green balls. Okay, I want a red ball. The red balls were just about as good as the green balls. They didn't bounce as high, but actually sometimes you don't want a ball to bounce too high. I'm all out of red balls, said Louis. Don't you have anything left? DeeDee meant anything besides the yellow ball. There was one yellow ball at Wayside School, and Louis was always trying to get rid of it. It didn't bounce, and it never went the way it was kicked. Anything at all? Today's your lucky day. I have one ball left just for you, the one and only yellow ball. No, thanks. Oh, come on, take it, said Louis. Why don't you ever have any red or green balls? Oh, I do, but the other children ask first, and by the time you get out here, they're all gone. But that's because I have to come all the way from the 30th story. How do you expect me to compete with the kids from the first and second? Well, that's why I saved you the yellow ball. Everybody wanted it, but I saved it for you. I bet. She took the yellow ball and bounced it on the ground. It stopped dead with a thud. She stepped back, ran up, and kicked it. It went backwards over her head. She didn't bother chasing it. Instead, she played hopscotch with Jenny and Leslie. She thought it was disgusting. The next day, DeeDee asked Miss Jules if she could go to recess early. Why? Well, so I could get a green ball before Louis gives them all away. I'm glad you have a good reason. Yes, you may go, but first, spell Mississippi for me. Spelling was not DeeDee's best subject, and by the time she finally got it right, she was 5 minutes late for recess. She jumped down the stairs, cut across the grass, ran up to Louis. There were no green balls left. There were no red balls either. But however, there was still the yellow ball. DeeDee played jump rope with Joy and Mauricia. It was no better than hopscotch. So DeeDee's problem was to figure out a way to get the green ball, or at least the red ball. You already know that this story contains a solution. DeeDee figured it out. See if you can too. Remember everything you know about DeeDee, Wayside School, and Mrs. Jules. Hint. The next day, DeeDee brought in a cream cheese and jelly sandwich, some nuts, and shredded cheese on her lunchbox. Here's what happened. Just before recess, DeeDee smeared the cream cheese and jelly all over her face. She stuffed her mouth with nuts and hung the shredded cheese from her nose, and when she closed her eyes, she looked just like a dead rat. Todd was in on the plan. Mrs. Jules, there's a dead rat in the classroom. Mrs. Jules was very put out. I want that dead rat outside immediately. And when Miss Jules said immediately, she meant it, and DeeDee instantly found herself outside on the playground. I want a yellow ball. Louis pretended like he hadn't heard her. May I please have a green ball? Or she said she wanted a green ball. Louis gave her a green ball. I don't know how you did it, DeeDee, but you're first today. When Miss Jules found out that DeeDee and Todd had tricked her, she sent Todd home early on the kindergarten bus. DeeDee threw the green ball on the ground. It bounced 50 feet straight up in the air, and then she caught it. You don't like me, do you? She asked Louis. Well, sure I do. No, you don't. Well, yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I like you. I really do. Are you sure? Yes. You don't believe me? I guess so. Don't you believe me? I guess so. Do you like me? You bet. You're my best friend. Terrific, said Louis. Always wanted to be best friends with a dead rat.